I did not know what it was. I arrived to the school and asked if the headmaster was inside. His assistant said, "Don't you know what happened? Varjan and hundreds of intellectuals were arrested." I fled immediately.
On April 27th, the Armenians contacted Morgenthau, hoping the United States, a neutral in the war, would intercede.
Ambassador Morgenthau responded to the Armenian plea and tried to change the German stand, but they had made their choice. No help for the Armenians was to materialize.
A few hours after the Armenian leaders were arrested in Constantinople, British and Australian forces attacked Turkey at Gallipoli. Bombardment was raging off the Turkish coast. At the same time, Armenian intellectuals were transported by rail to their deaths. The Turks stood their ground and finally brought the Allied attack to a standstill.
The fact that the British and the French and the Empire troops eventually had to withdraw from the peninsula in December of 1915 and January 1916 confirmed in the minds of many Turks their outstanding military capabilities and made them more self-confident than they had been before, which also made them less willing to listen to German advice on any and all matters.
The Turks now embarked on a bold plan to destroy an entire nation by massacre and by deportation. This gigantic uprooting of people was along the lines some Germans had suggested.
When the Turkish authorities gave the orders for these deportations, they were merely giving the death warrant to a whole race. It really represented a new form of massacre.
That night, they banged on the door, and next thing we know, that door was open. The Turkish officer opened the door with his sword and asked for my father. My father went there. He says, "Come on, we're taking you. Come on, let's go." And my father said, "Let me put my shoes." He says, "No, you don't need any shoes. Where are you going?"
How did the Turks devise this idea to expel from their homeland an entire nation of 2 million people? Enver Pasha, the Turkish Minister of War, was one of the architects of the Armenian plan. He had lived in Germany and was an admirer of the Kaiser. He was close to top Germans as well as military officers, including Bronsart von Schellendorf, Chief of Staff, known for his extreme racist views on Armenians. Was German racism a factor in the Turkish resolve to find a final solution to their Armenian minority problem?
It's one of the great questions, I think one of the main questions about the First World War. The question, did the Austro-Hungarians and the Germans know even maybe the details of the atrocities, of the massacres of the Ottoman government towards the Armenians in the Ottoman Empire? The other question, if they knew something, or even details, why did they not prevent these massacres?
June 17th, 1915. German Ambassador Wagenheim informed Berlin about Turkish motives. Quoting Talat, Wagenheim said the deportations were motivated merely by military considerations. The Ottoman government was using the World War to eliminate the Armenians. Wagenheim stressed this would also be in the interests of the Germans. But how far would Germany go to assist its ally? Top German officers in Turkey, would they help the Turks with their cleanup of Armenians? General Bronsart von Schellendorf was not an ordinary commander or general. He was the German who ranked highest in the Ottoman army. He chose to give his approval to Talat's deportation order. Historian Vahakan Dadrian implicates Schellendorf more closely with the deportation program.
On July 25, 1915, Bronsart von Schellendorf signed an order providing for the deportation, to use his language, for the Armenian people. In other words, not for any region or section of the country, but for the Armenian population as a whole. He used the language Ermeni Ahali. In that order, again, he used the Turkish code word for massacre, which is Şedide, severe measures to be applied.
Severe measures, the code word for extermination. Germany's industrial technology would expedite the Turks' deportation and massacre of Armenians.
For the first time in history, railway transportation became a means for mass extermination. Wholesale deportation of large civil populations towards extermination was introduced into history. The Baghdad Railway Company transported tens of thousands each week towards the Syrian deserts, where they were to die in the scorching desert suns.
In the summer of 1915, Franz Günther, director of the Berlin-Baghdad Railway Company in Constantinople, sent a secret report to Arthur von Gwinner, director of the Deutsche Bank in Berlin. Günther denounced the extermination of the Armenians. In one instance, he described how 800 old people, women and children, were rounded up and forced into freight wagons. He was appalled and said, "What is happening on the railroad line is moderate compared to what's happening in the rest of the country."
The conditions of these deportees were deplorable. They were herded into railroad carts, which were used for the transport of animals. No water was given. Babies were born on the train and thrown out by desperate mothers in order to kill them right on the spot.
Talat, Minister of the Interior in the Ottoman government, knew how rapid transportation and communication would advance his schemes. On August 15th, Talat sent a telegram to all provinces demanding to know how many Armenians had been deported, how many were on the road. Germans operating the railway in Turkey were upset. Director Günther sent another urgent report to Gwinner, marked secret, on October 30th, 1915. He included a photograph of deportees with another sarcastic note referring